My sister stole more than just my spotlight. She took my entire pregnancy, every little piece of happiness I had left. She paraded my joy around like it was her own, flashing stolen ultrasound photos at family dinners and basking in everyone's awe. She thought she'd fooled everyone, but trust me, she wasn't ready for what happened next. My name's Kim, I'm 25, and I have a younger sister, Emma, who's 22. And let's just say we've never been the best of friends. Growing up, it was the usual sibling rivalry over toys and attention, but as we got older, things got way more intense. Emma? She's the kind of person who craves the spotlight like her life depends on it. If someone else is getting even a second of attention, she'll find a way to snatch it back. So, here I am, finally getting the best news of my life. I'm pregnant! After a year of trying with my husband, this felt like a dream come true. Sharing it with my family was supposed to be a beautiful moment, but surprise, Emma had other ideas. As soon as I told everyone, I could see her face twitch, like my happiness was a personal insult to her. She just sat there, giving me this strange look, and I thought, really? You can't let me have this? But then, like clockwork, she jumps into full, look at me, mode. Every time I tried to talk about my pregnancy or share any excitement, she'd steer the conversation right back to herself. And it wasn't even subtle. 1 second, I'm talking about my ultrasound, and the next, Emma's sighing loudly about how overwhelmed she feels, or some nonsense drama she made up. She even put on this little poor me act, complete with fake tears, as if everyone would forget why we were all there in the first place. At first, I figured she was just being, Emma, desperate for attention, but nothing out of the ordinary. But there was something different this time. It wasn't just typical sibling jealousy, it felt off, like she was actually bothered by my news, which made no sense. I thought, why does this even matter to her? I tried to brush it off, thinking I was being paranoid, but that strange feeling stayed with me. So, one day, I'm over at my parents' place, planning to share my latest ultrasound pictures with Mum and Dad. I reach into my bag to pull them out, and nothing. The pictures are just gone. I mean, I was sure I packed them. I remembered tucking them into my wallet that morning, thinking, no way I'm leaving these behind. But here I am digging through every pocket, every compartment, and nothing. At first I brushed it off, thinking, maybe I just left them at home. But you know when you have that tiny voice in the back of your head saying, something's off? Yeah, that little voice got louder as the day went on. By evening, I couldn't shake this weird feeling crawling up my spine. It was unsettling. I mean, why would those specific photos go missing? The tension must have been written all over my face because my parents kept asking if I was okay. I tried to play it cool, but the whole thing felt wrong. It was like a mental itch I couldn't scratch. No matter how hard I tried to convince myself, it was just a silly mistake. Finally, I decided to ask Emma if she'd seen the pictures. She was just lounging on the couch, scrolling through her phone like she had nothing to worry about. I tried to sound casual, like, hey, Emma, you didn't happen to see my ultrasound pics around, did you? She didn't even look up, just shrugged, flashed me this sly little grin and said, nope, haven't seen them. The way she said it, all calm and collected, immediately set off alarm bells. Something about that answer was way too chill. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. I couldn't shake the feeling that Emma was up to something. This wasn't just some random thing going missing. It felt like the start of something unsettling. A week later, the whole family's gathered for dinner. It's supposed to be this cozy, no-drama evening with everyone just catching up, sharing stories, all the usual family stuff. I'm sitting there, barely listening to the conversation, still a little on edge from the missing ultrasound photos. And then, out of nowhere, Emma clears her throat, getting everyone's attention. She's got this look on her face, one I know all too well, the I'm about to drop a bomb look. And drop it, she does. With the most self-satisfied grin plastered on her face, she says, I have an announcement. I'm pregnant. I swear, time just stops. My heart feels like it's frozen mid-beat. Did she just say what I think she said? I look around the table and sure enough, everyone's faces are lighting up with surprise and excitement. The entire room is buzzing and every single pair of eyes is on her. Emma, of course, is loving every second of it. She's soaking up their reactions like she's the lead in some big movie scene. You could practically hear the imaginary applause. She's always loved being in the spotlight, but this was next level. My brain is spinning, trying to process what I just heard. I mean, there was no way this was real. Something just felt wrong. I watch her closely, and there's this tiny, smug smile creeping up the corner of her mouth. And then it hits me. She hasn't looked at me even once since her announcement. Like, she knows I'd see right through it if she did. She's putting on this fake, "Oh, I'm so overwhelmed" act, all shy smiles and downcast eyes, but I can tell she's secretly thrilled. She's got everyone hanging on to her every word, while I'm sitting there boiling inside. It's like she's stolen the one thing that was mine, and is now parading it around like it's her own. My big, beautiful news, something I worked so hard for, dreamed about, and she's just taken it, made it hers, with zero shame. I feel this surge of anger rise up, and I want to say something, to call her out right then and there, but the words just don't come. I'm too stunned, too overwhelmed by this whole twisted act she's putting on. A few weeks later, my friend Jessica throws this big party. She invites everyone, family, friends, basically the whole circle. It's supposed to be one of those fun nights where you just let loose, have a good time. But guess who sees it as the perfect stage for yet another look at me performance? Yep, Emma. She shows up dressed like she's ready to walk the red carpet, and I can already see it in her eyes. She's here to steal the spotlight again. I tell myself to stay calm, keep it together, but the second she starts pulling out her ultrasound photos, I feel my blood start to boil. She's handing them around like party favours, acting like this is her big moment. People are crowding around her, congratulating her, asking about baby names, the due date, and she's basking in every second of it. You'd think she'd just won some kind of award. Meanwhile, I'm standing off to the side, trying to keep my cool. But inside, I'm fuming. She's holding up my ultrasound pictures, the ones that meant everything to me like they're hers. Every, "Oh, congratulations" she gets feels like a slap in the face. I can't believe she's actually getting away with this. She's standing there, smiling that fake, sweet smile, and no one else sees through it. But I do. Watching her pull off this stunt, something inside me snaps. I can't keep playing along, watching her walk all over my happiness. She's been lying to everyone, stealing my moment, and turning it into her own personal circus. And I know now that I can't just let her get away with it. This has to stop. After the party fiasco, I go home with this intense need to get to the bottom of Emma's twisted game. There's no way she's pulling this off alone. The details she's been flaunting don't just pop up out of thin air. So I decide it's time for a little investigation. I start thinking back, replaying conversations, looking for any tiny slip-up I might have missed. Then I remember something. A few weeks ago, I left my phone on the kitchen counter at my parents' house. When I went to grab it, I noticed Emma's phone sitting right there next to it, with some weird notifications lighting up her screen. I didn't think much of it at the time, but now it all feels suspicious. So I scroll through my memory, trying to remember any detail I caught sight of. And there it is. I suddenly recall seeing a text preview from a number I didn't recognise. It had a bunch of short messages, words like schedule and plan popping up. My curiosity is officially off the charts. So, I go back to my parents' place, and as soon as I have a chance, I check out her phone when she's not around. And what do I find? A long string of messages with this unknown contact, going on about appointments, doctors, even talking points for her announcement. She's been coordinating this whole charade with someone else, going through every detail to make sure her story sounds legit, seeing it in black and white. That's a whole new level of betrayal. I feel like the flaws just disappeared under me. This isn't just some petty sibling rivalry. She's gone all in on this lie, so deep that she didn't even bother covering her tracks. Every smirk, every look of satisfaction at family dinners, it all plays through my head, and I can't help but feel a surge of determination. Emma may think she's untouchable, but now I know exactly what I'm dealing with. Finally, it all comes to a head at yet another family dinner. I've been sitting on this bombshell, waiting for the perfect moment, and tonight, it's game time. As everyone settles in, I can feel my pulse quickening, my hands almost itching to pull out the truth I've been holding on to. Emma, of course, is in full actress mode, tossing fake smiles around the table, acting all sweet and innocent. But she has no idea what's coming. I take a deep breath, pull out my phone, and, without saying a word, start scrolling through the screenshots. Messages, timestamps, everything. Her whole fake pregnancy scheme laid out, plain as day. I let out a loud, dramatic sigh, just to get everyone's attention, then look straight at Emma and say, "Care to explain these?" as I turn my phone to face the entire family. The room goes dead silent. Emma's face drops, she's frozen, staring at the evidence on my screen like a deer caught in headlights. My parents lean in, squinting at the messages, confusion turning to shock as they piece together what's happening. Emma tries to stammer something, her voice shaky. It was just a joke, just for fun. But her usual confidence? Gone. She knows there's no getting out of this. Her face turns pale as she realises that the family isn't buying it. Mum's hand flies to her mouth in shock. Dad's just sitting there, staring at her, looking like he doesn't even know who she is anymore. It's like everyone's world just flipped upside down. They never expected this from her, not the sweet, golden girl who always knew how to charm her way out of trouble. But even with the truth out there, I don't feel the relief I thought I would. She didn't just lie. She stole my joy, my moment, twisted it into her own personal spotlight. And now, with everyone staring at her in disappointment, I realise this whole thing has left a mark I'm not sure will ever fully fade. After that explosive dinner, the fallout is immediate and brutal. Emma's been officially cut off like big time. The family's done. All those aunts, uncles, cousins she tried to charm, not a single one of them wants anything to do with her now. She'd spent so much time building up this perfect girl image, and now it's shattered, just like that. Her friends, same deal. The ones who were at that party, cheering her on, thinking she was living this beautiful dream, they're speechless. Word of her pregnancy scandal spreads like wildfire, and soon enough, nobody's calling, nobody's texting. It's like everyone just collectively decided she doesn't exist anymore. And I can tell it's eating her up. For someone who's always needed to be the centre of attention, this silent treatment has to feel like her worst nightmare. But the hardest blow comes from our parents. They always tried to see the best in her, no matter what stunt she pulled. They'd defended her, protected her, and, if we're being honest, spoiled her a bit too. But this crossed a line. For the first time, I see disappointment in their eyes when they look at her, this kind of sadness that says, "How did we not see this coming?" And as much as I feel some relief, like, finally, people see what I've been dealing with all these years, there's also this ache, this weird sadness I can't shake. She's my sister after all, and seeing her so alone, so isolated because of something she did to me, it's bittersweet. I can't just turn off years of shared memories, even if she twisted the one thing that meant everything to me. Emma's lie destroyed all the bridges she'd spent years building, and watching her go through that fallout, it's a mix of justice and heartbreak. After the whole mess, Emma finds herself completely cut off, left in this bubble of isolation she never saw coming. At first, I could tell she didn't take it seriously. She walked around like it was all some big misunderstanding, like everyone would just forget in a few days, maybe even laugh about it. But the longer it went on, the clearer it became. No one was rushing to forgive and forget this time. Her phone, which used to buzz constantly, now stays silent. Friends? Gone. Family? Keeping their distance. It's like reality finally caught up with her, and you could see it start to sink in. Every time she tried to call, send a message, reach out to someone, all she got was silence. That forced her to face it. This wasn't just some petty drama she could sweep under the rug. This was the consequence of every selfish choice she'd made. And you know what? This didn't just teach her a lesson. Our whole family felt the weight of what had happened. We all had to confront the fact that sometimes the people closest to you can cause the deepest wounds. For our parents, it was a brutal wake-up call, a reminder that loving someone doesn't mean ignoring their faults. For me, it was a lesson in standing up for myself, in valuing my happiness enough to not let anyone take it away, no matter who they are. In the end, Emma's betrayal showed all of us that trust, once broken, is nearly impossible to piece back together.